So often we get told there's a silver bullet in fishing, a magic lure, a breakthrough technique, some game-changing technology that's supposed to fix all of your struggles. But the truth is there's no one secret. What does work is stacking small advantages, and I call them one percenters. Today I'm going to walk you through a mindset shift that will help you get more from your time on the water catching more fish. So I fished tournaments for years, and one challenge I always had was I was in the smallest, slowest boat in the field. I couldn't travel far. It was always weather dependent on where I could go, and I was always the last to get to a spot. So I had to think differently. I focused on what I could control, and over time, those small changes became my edge. I still apply the same principles to my everyday fishing, and it has helped me immensely. The goal here isn't to change everything. That just makes things harder for yourself. So instead, we want to look at it like we're just adding toppings to our fishing. We're going to layer small improvements and stack that up over time. And that's how you can convince a fish to bite, especially in competitive or pressured waters. So today we're going to look at 8 examples of one percenters that you can apply to your fishing the next time you go out. This will spark more ideas for you, and this is by no means the limit. There's almost an infinite amount of things you can change that are one percenters that will improve your fishing. So firstly, let's talk about fishing around crowd. When the fish are pressured, being in the same area as 10 other anglers makes it harder. Even if it looks like it's the hot spot to be, if you've caught fish there before, if there's boats all over it, the fish are less likely to bite, and you're sharing with a bunch of different anglers. So in these situations, I'll often look for somewhere else to fish, if I know that that spot is loaded with other boats. So what I'll do is try and replicate that scenario somewhere else. So the type of structure, the depth, or the current. I'll look for variables that that spot has and try and apply it somewhere else. Sometimes just thinking outside of the box of where you can fish can make all the difference. And we've all heard stories of that one guy that caught a bunch of fish fishing somewhere that we didn't even think of to look. So give yourself the opportunity to become that guy, and think outside the box, and move away from the crowds. Number 2, downsizing your leader. So leader size can make a huge difference, especially in clear water or with fuzzy fish. Even dropping down a couple of pounds in strength can make the lure look way more natural. So lighter leader is thinner and allows the lure to sink more naturally. It gives a better presentation. It's just going to sink a lot more. It's going to look natural to the fish. And obviously it's thinner, so it's also harder for the fish to see. So it lowers their perceived risk of whether they're deciding to eat the lure or not. And yes, by downsizing your leader, you do risk bust-offs, but it's just that trade-off of more bites and potentially losing some versus no bites at all. So, and if you're smart about it as well, you do hook a big fish on light line. You can usually play the fish out and get them in, work your rod angles, make sure your drag is set right, and you can still land big fish on light gear. Number 3, stealth. So one of the factors that we need to keep in mind when we're fishing is that we are quite a big presence in the fish's zone. So they know when we're there and they're weary when we're around them. Now our boat creates shadow in the water, we make noise, all of this stuff will affect the fish's willingness to actually eat when something crazy is going on. If you can imagine, if a giant UFO flew over you and it was dinner time, you'd probably be more focused on what's going on above you as opposed to what's in front of you on the plate. So keep that in mind when you are fishing, that our presence does affect how these fish feed. So we want to be as quiet as possible when we're on the water, and we want to keep our boat as far away from the fish as possible as well. So what we can do in these instances is make long casts to the fish. So by using longer rods, downsizing your braid even, you can cast a lot further and put that lure further away from the boat. This way the lure is away from the boat. When the fish see it, they're not worried about the boat, and you also have more space to actually work that lure before it gets close to the boat and the fish spooking. I'm sure we've all had that experience where you're winding a lure in, the fish is near the boat, they see the boat, and then they spook and it's gone, and you just wish you had another couple of meters of water left so you can get that fish to eat because he was just about to eat it. So by putting longer casts in, you give yourself that opportunity to have more fishable water. The other thing to consider with stealth is our noise, like I mentioned. So just things like, shutting a hatch lid, don't slam it down, don't jump around the boat, dropping pliers on the deck. All those things make noise and sound travels through the water. The fish will hear this. Just recently, I was out fishing for jewfish, mulloway, and I have an active target transducer on a pole in the front of the boat. So I was turning it looking for the fish, And I found a Schoology. I've been catching them for a couple of hours leading up to that. And then what I noticed was I found a good school. They were just sitting in front. And I just went to tilt the pole a little bit. And as I did that, the bracket made a bit of a screeching sound. It's like, and as that happened, I watched this whole school of probably 30 or 40 fish gone. They just spooked instantly. I couldn't believe how fast they moved. So, and that was like a very small noise. And even though I was there pretty close to them, that was all it took to get that whole school to go. So keeping that in mind, that the noise that you make can affect these fish. Just be as quiet as possible. It doesn't mean you have to whisper on the boat, but don't jump around. Don't slam your hatch lids. Just don't do things unnecessarily. If you can be quiet, just be quiet. Number 4, different casting angles. Now, if everyone's drifting and casting the same way, you can stand out by changing your presentation angle. So sometimes just hitting a piece of structure from the opposite side presents the lure to a fish in a different way. So that could be all that's needed to get them to bite. This could be casting from the side of the school. You could move up, you could move behind and cast in front. You could even free spool the lure back down with the current. Just try different angles, try and present the lure to a fish a different way. If you just go and do the same thing every time and they're not eating, well, you're not going to even know. Number 5, using scent. Now this is no secret and most anglers probably already put scent on their lures, but the thing that we all do is we generally wait until the bite is tough before we do that. So if we're fishing, we might catch a few, the fishing slows down, and then our first thought is, what can we do to make it better? We'll put some scent on, throw the lure out, and that might keep the fish biting. But what I want you to consider is that, and with this goes for all the 1%ers, is that don't just wait for things to be tough before you make that decision, right? When the fishing is good, it's easy to catch fish, right? It's easy to catch. You might be on a school of fish and you can catch a number of fish, whatever size, the same size, good size fish. But you may not be able to catch that one big fish because the big fish are smart. So when there's a lot of fish around, sometimes putting scent on at that point might be the thing that convinces that one big fish, that personal best or that tournament winner, to actually eat at that point. Because when they're all there and you're casting and presenting your lure to the fish that are all pretty active, that one fish still may not have all he needs to be convinced to eat. And the scent at that time might work. And then waiting till the fish have shut down and moved on is too late. So consider that when you apply a 1%er, whether it's scent, whether it's downsizing leader or moving or changing angles, whatever it is, don't just wait till the fishing is tough. Sometimes doing it when the fishing is good can mean you go from the average size fish you're catching to the next class of fish. All right, number 6. So changing lures, this is a big one. I would often be in the scenario where I'm fishing for a specific fish. I've got my rods rigged up from the night before and I go to make my cast and it doesn't feel right. I know I'm not using the right lure. It may be too light, maybe too heavy. I look back and the right lure that I want to use, it's on the wrong rod, the rod that's got the wrong leader, or it's the bait caster and I want a spin rod or whatever it is. So you have the wrong lure on the right rod and the right lure is there on the wrong rod. So you then feel a bit lazy, you're not sure whether to change, you stick with the wrong lure because you got the right rod in your hand. So what I found is I'm just lazy here. So I had to find ways to make it easier for myself to change the lure in those situations because that's what needs to happen. I need to have the right lure on right then so I can catch that fish. So what I do is I make sure that I've got scissors accessible all parts of the boat. So I have a few pairs in the boat. I have a tackle box that sits on my console that's full of the lures that I'm likely to use for the day. And another thing I can do is use lure clips on my line to really make it easy to change. So the idea is you remove the barriers that prevent you from making the right decisions. So in this instance, it's the laziness of retying, so that you can make the right decision and put yourself in the best position to catch those fish. That way I find I'm more motivated or I'm less likely to say no to a lure change, put the right lure on, cast it, and I find I'll catch more fish that way. And obviously when you do it, you're like, oh, duh, I should have done that every time. It's obvious, but we just get lazy. We don't make those decisions when we're on the water, and it happens to all of us. You just need to make sure that you're moving those boundaries out of the way and making the right decision. Number 7, if the boat ramp is busy and everyone is hitting the same spots at the same time, try being different. So sometimes an earlier start gets you to the spot before everyone else, puts you in front of fish that aren't already spooked by boat traffic. So what I tend to do is, if I know that sunrise, for example, is 6 o'clock, that means most people are probably going to be launching at 5. The boat ramp's going to be pretty busy by that time of the morning. So go a bit earlier than that. So that might mean I arrive at 4:30. I am in the dark for a little bit, but it means I get to fish where I want to fish. Those fish haven't had boats driving on top of them yet. They're more likely to eat. Now, on the flip side, what you can do is head out a bit later. So delay your start. Don't just go for the sunrise. Wait for everyone else to come back in. And you'll find there'll be a wave of anglers that would have launched at around 5 o'clock. They'll come back in about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then the boat ramp will start emptying. And that's also a good time to head out and fish that afternoon session because, again, there's less people on the water, there's less boat traffic, the fish are less spooked, and it just makes it easier for the fish to commit to bite. Number 8, fishing in inclement weather. Now bad weather can be good for fishing, but only if it's safe to do so. So fish often will feed more actively in the wind or rain, right? Like most people know that. It's not rocket science. The wind adds the surface ripple or waves to the surface, gives the fish cover. Rain brings clouds, brings cover. The fish feel more safe. They're more likely to feed. There's also a lot happening with the barometric pressure. So there's a lot going on that will give fish an opportunity to feed well and for us to catch fish. But it's windy, it's rainy, it's wet, it's uncomfortable, and we're less likely to want to go. If you wake up and it's pouring down rain, we don't want to go fishing, right? So what I tend to do is, if I really want to catch fish, if the weather's not looking great, but I know the conditions will be good for fishing, then it's still worth going if it's safe. So what I do here is just make sure you've got good quality wet weather gear. So you've got a good jacket and rain pants that isn't going to soak through after the first hour of rain. You've got warm clothes so that if you're fishing in the middle of winter at night, you're not going to give up because you're cold. The thing here is you want to make sure that you aren't finding reasons to not go, finding reasons to give up quickly as well. So I like to make sure I've got good quality gear on, I'm warm, the person I'm fishing with is also warm as well, so they don't feel like they want to go home too. And that way I'm not looking for excuses to go home if the fish aren't biting or if the fishing's tough. I'm still comfortable, and we can stay out as long as we can, as long as we need to, and we don't just go home because my jacket got wet, my socks and my feet are wet as well. So there it is there. Look for reasons to stay out on the water, and avoid those excuses to actually go home. So each little 1% you can add all adds up. It could be as simple as checking your knots the night before, or something more complex like jumping on the computer and checking out the wind and tides and the moon patterns for the last week and how much rain has fallen. You can go so deep into this as well. They are small actions, really, in the scheme of things, but together they create a big difference. These are small things you can do, and the thing is that the more you do it, the more you stack, the bigger your win is, the bigger the difference you create. Fishing is competitive. Fishing is hard. I don't care what anyone says. Fishing is not easy. And whether you're in a tournament or whether you're just trying to get the best from your fishing day, the fish don't care about excuses. So control what you can control, add the toppings, stack those 1%ers. Because the truth is, there's no silver bullet. There's no secret that's going to catch you all the fish. But there is a better way, and it starts with small improvements every time you hit the water. If you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe, give it a like. If you've got a 1%er, I'd love to hear about it. Drop it in the comments below. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe. We've got videos coming out every week. I'm Nabil, and this is my fishing coach.